Right. Good evening, all. Thanks for joining in on a weekday. I know it's pretty difficult to make time on a weekday. Thanks for joining,
Thank you.
and welcome to the fourth edition of Blue Skies Leadership Dialogue. I'm always curious about what makes um, different qualities of people excel in in leadership. There is no one type of leader who can be successful. There is absolutely zero template, or why leaders can be successful. Every personality type, uh, different characters, everybody becomes successful as leaders. So I thought I'll start this series with friends and leaders that I know, and delve into their minds to see what makes them successful. What is their take on leadership? Yeah. So welcome to the fourth edition. Let uh, let me take this privilege of introducing my friend Niraj. Niraj is from Standard Chartered Bank. He is the executive director working in India. He is he takes care of banking technology and process engineering and product development. Um, More than 2 decades of experience embracing leadership roles in various capacities. And Niraj's leadership philosophy is the principle of collaboration. He firmly believes uh, in navigating the complexities of modern organization. Collaboration is paramount. So Neeraj's leadership goals have always been centered on fostering independence and decision-making capabilities among his team members, away from the banking, the boardrooms, the meetings, and stuff like that. He is a qualified ultra marathon runner. He has done a lot of marathon running uh, in India. I think now he is also going to Europe uh, to run the ultra marathons. So he's a fantastic runner. He also finds solace and passion in pursuit of running and reading. So presenting you Niraj from Standard Chartered Bank. Thank you, Niraj, for joining.
Thanks a lot, Prakash, for the invite. And I think a very different sort of a topic within leadership scope that you've selected. So, uh, I mean, when you approached me, it really was interesting, and I never looked at it, from this perspective. But then you sort of, got me thinking into, how this closely relates, and I think it's going to be a interesting session, I hope, for everybody who's joining.
Thank you. So Niraj, being a ultra marathon runner and senior leader in a bank, yeah. Can you share how your passion for ultra running has influenced your approach to leadership, and what lessons from endurance sports do you apply in your professional life?
Yeah, sure. So, so I think while I think the leadership as well as the running, both these disciplines are really broad based, and they could have a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. But I think four things that come to my mind, at the top of my mind. I think the first one is focus. So, I mean, ultra running is usually, off road or at high altitudes or really long distances. You need a lot of focus, during the runs, during your training. Focus on yourself, focus on breathing, understanding how the route is going to be, what the terrain is, what's the sort of time that you have, when is the next aid station, and a lot of surroundings, around you. And you need sort of that kind of a focus to be able to perform at your best. Now, when we consider leadership, I think focus also is a very central aspect of leadership. And this doesn't only mean that you do not do multitasking and etc. This focus is not restricted to that kind of a focus, but I would say that the focus further has three categories. So one, you focus on your own self, right? And you conduct your own self first before you can become a leader and conduct others. The second type of focus is to focus on your people, your team, and other people around you. And the third one is essentially focusing outward. so let's say towards the industry, what are the trends, what is new in the industry that you work in, what works, what doesn't work. So I think focus becomes one of the
Hmm.
paramount aspects here. The second is discipline. And I think, yeah, I mean, and when I say second, it's not in that order of priority, but it's the second aspect here. Now, given that we have a few runners also here, I think Eliud Kipchoge said that only the disciplined ones are truly free, right? And maybe it's not Eliud who said it; it was Aristotle who said. But fine, we'll give it to Eliud for sort of uh, repackaging this. So, uh, you know, for running longer races, which is like hours and hours, at times crossover days as well. There's a lot of discipline training that is required. So one cannot get up one day and say that, okay, I'll train today, the next day I will not, I'll skip 1 week, I'll skip 2 weeks. It doesn't work that way. uh, Pretty much everybody who runs longer races, longer distances, sort of swears by this, that discipline is the must. Similarly, when we talk about leadership roles, if a leader itself, himself, herself, is not disciplined, they cannot get structure to the chaos that is happening around. Neither would they be able to give any sort of a direction to their team, or get the discipline required to achieve their goals and targets, along with a bunch of people. So I think discipline is sort of extremely important. Um, the other aspect is to say no more often. And uh, like, we have so many races, we have so many different things happening, but we cannot go and participate in everything, we cannot do everything. So we got to say no, we got to prioritize, and we got to prioritize ruthlessly. Make sure that we set our goals, and anything and everything that is not going to help you to meet that goal sort of should be set aside. And leadership pretty much works this way. I mean, a true leader would always have a few tasks that are topmost important, uh, and prioritized. Running, uh, in ultra running specifically, I think listening is important, because you have to constantly listen to your body. You have to listen to what is happening around, uh, and you have to make sure that everything is fine. If there are any niggles, etc., you sort of take care of that. Similarly, as a leader, I think listening to your team members, to people around, understanding where they are coming from, what are the different perspectives that different people get on the table, uh, becomes absolutely important. And I think this is one skill that kind of would really help somebody to excel in their leadership position, because it's not always about directing, controlling, and asking people what needs to be done. At times people simply want to be heard. There could be a lot of challenges that the teams are facing, and all they need at times is not a solution from you, or not some direction from you to do something, right? They simply need somebody to sort of listen to them, listen to their problems, and empathize with it. So I think these are the four things probably where uh, you know I kind of apply lessons both ways.
Brilliant. It's focus, discipline, prioritize, and listen to things around.
Listening.
Now that makes me curious. The kind of job you're in, the kind of pressure that corporate applies on you, and ultra running is also exceptionally uh, time consuming. So how do
Yeah.
you balance? How do you balance between job and ultra running, especially with respect to time management and mental resilience? And what does that part of you has contributed to your leadership qualities?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think you're bang on that. The training aspect for ultra running is something that is really really time consuming, because it kind of uh, uh, without mileage, without putting in the hours, you can't even stand at the start line of a long race, right? Leave alone completing the race without any injuries, etc. So definitely the sport is demanding from a sheer time perspective, right? If we leave aside the whole physical aspect and all of that for the time being, I think the sheer time demand is huge. So I would say that uh, planning uh, is of key importance. So so let's say I have about 100 kilometer 20 kilometer per week sort of a plan during my peak training week, and that roughly would translate into about 20 hours of running in a week, right? Which is a huge sort of time investment. And obviously all of us, it's not only work, Prakash, it's also family, it's kids, their schools, etc. So there is a lot of planning which goes in, right? So which is the day that you want to go and run, where exactly are you going to go and run, how much time are you going to spend in traveling, what do you need in the morning? So your preparation starts like a night before. uh, and at times you plan 2 to 3 weeks in advance, that okay, if I have some exams for my son to be taken care of 2 weeks down the line, then what is my training schedule looking like, how am I going to adjust, do I need to prepare now? So likewise, a leader also needs to plan not only for the leader but also for their team, right? To ensure that again your goals, your objectives, everything is sort of met. uh, the other thing, I will again emphasize the importance of prioritization. You can't do everything, so you have to prioritize. So let's say if I have uh, a running race target in the next 5 or 6 months, then frankly, school, work, family, and running, so this is the order of priority. Now anything apart from this would be done only if there is any leisure time outside this. But
mm,
apart from this, everything is a plain no, right? And uh, so there is no unnecessary social media, there is no hanging out with people, there is no post office dinners or hanging out and all. It's all centered around working through a checklist, right? So on my home desk dashboard, I literally work off checklist. And my wife and daughter would say that I have these small pieces of paper there, that for this race, what is it that I need to prepare, for this school exam, what is it that we need to prepare. So a lot of prioritization goes through. In a leadership context, I would say that it might often get ignored,
mm,
because you don't think of it as a mental resilience activity, but the sheer pressure of managing a bunch of people, knowing that you are responsible and accountable for their careers, etc., could put a tremendous pressure, right? Because you're not only talking about thinking about yourself, but you have people around to be able to kind of manage. So so one of the things that kind of works for me as part of mental resilience is that meditation and deep breathing sort of an exercises regularly, even if it is 10 minutes a day, 12 minutes a day, whatever that I can sort of squeeze in. And that sort of makes you more self aware, uh, and helps you to calm down, think about things much more rationally, and take a step back before you sort of make any impulsive decisions,
mm,
right? So, and this is also true in running, because if you are in a race which is about 10 to 12 hours long, typically after 2.5 hours your body has already given up, right? You are sort of running on fumes. And then what kicks in is that how well you have mentally trained yourself to take a look away from the pain and away from all the discomfort that is going on, and sort of get into this constant positive dialogue with yourself. And this frankly takes a lot of time. Mental resilience is not something that people can build overnight, right? You have to put yourself through struggle time and again, in a controlled environment, and then sort of build it. So I think
mm.
uh, That's it. And one of the things in terms of balancing demand, one of the quote that comes to my mind, I sort of just read. It says that if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes a sacrifice.
Yeah,
So, right. So along the way, you may have to sort of sacrifice a few things, uh, and sort of let go of. Right. You can't hold on to everything.
yeah, yeah. So, ultra running, or, this kind of, running stuff is always a solitary event, right? It's done as an individual sport. How
Yeah.
does how does this solitary nature of ultra running for 10 hours and 12 hours has a bearing on, leadership? Because leadership is all teamwork, collaboration, bring people together, work in, groups. How does, ultra running help in leadership?
True. True. I think, yeah, more often than not, you would find, I mean, if you talk about distances up to a marathon, probably that still becomes like a group activity and, people around you. But you're right. Typically, ultra running would become a very, very solo endeavor. And it's not really necessary that there would be people around you, right? And sort of that becomes a little different than what leadership demands. But uh, but because it's a solitary sport, it frankly for me it gives me a lot of me time, a lot of time to reflect through the training hours that you put in. So your early morning training hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, like a couple of weeks back I had a 6 hour long training run. And uh, and I sort of did it all alone, right? No company, there is no group, there is nobody, right? So you have these number of hours in a day to your advantage. Now, what this helps is this helps to become more self aware. This
Hmm.
helps you to consolidate your thoughts, uh, and look at things much more differently. Now we know that a leader needs to be firstly self aware before a leader starts leading other people, right? You need to understand your strengths, weaknesses. You need to be able to understand how uh, your things that you talk, the way you behave, how does your tone impact the person that you are dealing with, right? So so this kind of activity helps you to become more reflective, right?
Hmm.
You sort of become more reflective. You know how your actions are going to sort of impact others or how they are going to be perceived by others. You become more observant, right? Because you're self-aware, you are far more observant. uh, as an ultra runner, you also train to be observant, right? If you are running in a jungle, you lose the marking. You need to know where you are going, so you become more observant what is around, what's next. So as a leader, you become self-conscious. You start observing how a particular team member is behaving. Maybe there are some silent cues in terms of people not being happy or people being happy. So then you become more empathetic towards other people also, right? You learn to respect your body, you learn to take care of your own self, which sort of proliferates into taking care of people around you. uh, and I think you become more humble. Running long distances really humbles you, especially if you're running in the mountains, if you're running in off roads. It sort of really humbles you. There is no ego, and I know there are some amazing runners. I see Cocky Ma'am here, and Anil. These are some fantastic runners in Mumbai, and probably over all over India. And so they know it. It sort of, you have no ego. You don't consider yourself to be superior, right? And this probably humility translates into your workplace. You start looking at things the way they are, rather than trying to impose things upon people.
Brilliant. Yeah, I like the way you said, I've been a trekker all my life.
Yeah,
So, mountains and, terrains really humbles you,
Yeah,
sometimes the weather itself humbles you a lot.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
So, Neeraj, for me, uh, how do you kind of set ambitious goals, both in terms of your career and your passion of running? And how do plan as a leader that this is what should happen with me and my team?
yeah. So I think as an ultra runner, uh, we train ourselves to be comfortable with the uncomfortable,
Uh-huh.
and I think that is the key when you are running ultras, right? That being comfortable with being uncomfortable is sort of the central theme of it, right? You are never going to be comfortable no matter how much you have trained. First of all, the training itself is so uncomfortable that by the time you reach the race you've learned a lot, and then through the race also there are going to be really difficult, challenging, and uncomfortable moments. But what this controlled, measured uncomfort that you take helps you to sort of reach the next level, right? Um, without without taking a certain amount of discomfort,
Yeah,
you cannot sort of grow, right? There is no growth. Now, I sort of read also about a great model which was developed by Yerkes and Dodson, way back in 1908. It's called Yerkes and Dodson law. And this law, at a high level, at very broadly, it says that the performance increases as the stress increases,
yeah,
and performance decreases if the stress decreases it, right? Of course, there is a certain limit. You cannot sort of put yourself or somebody into so much stress that this whole thing starts reversing off, but some amount of stress is required, right? Like when we give our exams also, if there is no stress, we are not going to study, correct? Before the paper, so we need some pressure. Now, uh, everybody's tolerance of this pressure point is going to be very different. So when you're dealing with a bunch of people, you need to understand, first of all, whether what is the tolerance level of stress that a person can take, and then you devise them. But trust me, if you are willing to take some stress, what lies on the other side of stress is definitely going to be beautiful, and you will become a changed person, right? You will never be the same person if you have managed to go through certain incidents of stress, whether it is part of running or whether it is at your workplace. At workplace, it could be dealing with a very, very difficult colleague. It could be dealing with a very high pressure client requirement, like how my friend Ivy is currently dealing at the office. So this really changes you, right? So it helps you to achieve your goals. It helps to boost self confidence, right? Because once you've sort of crossed that, you are confident that okay, I went through a very, very tough situation and I've sort of managed to come out of it. So that makes you more and more confident. You keep doing it on and off, on and off. It sort of keeps building your confidence to do more. And I think for me, running, because of taking this kind of a stress, has helped me to explore the world. Uh, it made me meet a lot of new people. It made me go different places. So similarly, right, as a leader, as a working professional, if you're ready to take few chances, you may be able to learn a new skill. You may be able to meet more people. You may be exposed to different ideas, right? So I think uh, definitely, I think putting some stress helps to sort of put up ambitious goals.
brilliant. Thank you so much, Neeraj. Wonderful. I like the way you said um, taking, taking stress in the controlled environment so that you get used to it
Yeah,
during this. And I can call myself a ex marathon runner. I
yeah.
I'm not running for more than 5 years now, but I
uh,
would I'm now inspired to share my experience of running the first marathon way back in 2012,
Yeah.
2011. I'll definitely write a book on it. Definitely. And the way you said, it's like by the time you come to race, you have already gone through that entire cycle of, maybe running 50 kilometers or 75 kilometers. You have done it already. So
Yeah.
it's now you're making your win official by running in the race. But otherwise, you have been there, done that already. I think
True.
it also translates in the corporate the way that you are making success official by performing, but already in your mind, maybe you have visualized, maybe you have planned so much that you have won in your minds already. I think
True.
that's what makes uh, the winning percentage very very high, the winnability portion very very high. Thank you so much for sharing
Right.
your folks here, runners and leaders. If you have any questions, maybe we can take two or three now.
Yeah, sure.
You can either unmute and ask your question, or you can type it out in the chat box. People are thinking about the question. You spoke about the preparation starts a night before. You
Yeah.
know, uh, uh, and I think it is true for all the endurance sports and long distance sports. Even for trekking, I think preparation starts a week before. Pack everything, because once you are in the mountain, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
You have to be 100% sure that you have got everything that you have. Else you manage. And
Yeah.
you rightly said, right? It humbles you.
Yeah.
Just in case if you forgot to take something to the race, it's just that you manage. I think I
True.
think I think because we start managing stuff that way, uh, maybe it cascades to other areas of life. When you
True.
don't have
True.
something, you have the template, you have the brain template how to manage something, so you manage.
Yeah.
So
So I think, yeah, I mean, if you don't plan, you sort of face the consequences. If it's a physical endeavor, the consequences can be life threatening.
yeah,
uh, Maybe in an office it may not be life threatening, but yeah, I mean, your reputation, your client, your business, etc., could be at risk. I can see uh, few
so
questions on the chat.
Bhakti
Sorry.
wants
So
to ask, what are you preparing for currently?
okay. So I think the immediate one, Koki ma'am and Anil, is at Shimla. It's closer to Shimla. It's actually happening next week. So frankly, this is a taper week. I'm relaxing now, and this is called Silk Route Ultra Trail. It's an A to B trail, and I am sort of planning to debut my first 100-kilometer trail uh, next week. So yeah, I think uh,
Brilliant.
sort of bit nervous and excited at the same time. And yeah, one of the notes on my dashboard is the elevation profile of the race, and also one note saying what all I need to carry, etc. So
As you said, some amount of stress improves the performance. So good to be
yes,
nervous.
yes.
Good to be nervous before the race.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah, always, always. I mean, now 2, 3 days hence, I will start frantically sending messages to my coach about what I plan to do and what I don't plan to do, and get his validation. And the poor guy will sort of, patiently respond to all my messages. But yeah, I think that before a big one, it sort of happens. It's just natural.
Thank you. So for people who have joined, if you're not able to think of any questions now, there will be a LinkedIn post summarizing Neeraj's insights, and uh, it will be on tomorrow on LinkedIn. So just in case if you have any question related to what Neeraj said today, you can always ask question even on the LinkedIn, and Neeraj will respond to it. So thank you so very much for joining. Thank you, Neeraj, for sharing your insights. And I really love bringing sports to leadership. I think that there is a very seamless integration, seamless assimilation of sports and leadership. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing your insights. Thank you.
Thanks, Prakash, and thanks everybody for making the time out. It was good seeing you all. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.